Welcome to W Report. This is an analytical transformation of an interview. Why do Americans always vote for peace, yet keep getting more wars? Clinton, Bush, Obama, Trump, they all promised to stop interventionism. Even Putin once said they seemed sincere at first, but always revert to the same status quo. What keeps the United States trapped in this endless cycle?
A friend of mine, Tom Woods, whom you may know, an independent scholar who also runs a popular podcast, says it seems like no matter who you vote for president, you end up with John McCain. The late Senator McCain, of course, being the most notorious war hawk in the modern era, perhaps from his own background in the military. I don't know exactly what it is. I can guess that the deep state, the intelligence community, the parts of the government that never change, the intelligence community, the bankers, the military, I wouldn't say threatened, but pressure American presidents probably by scaring them into complying with the wishes of the deep state and the military industrial complex because it happens over and over and over again. We have the uniparty, a derogatory phrase to describe the areas where Republicans and Democrats agree, and war is one of them. We have been fighting the forever wars since the end of World War II. I don't even know what the number is, but it's rare that there's been a time where there hasn't been some war going on since 1945. So it's a problem that no one's been able to solve. It would take a serious pro-peace libertarian like Ron Paul, who's beyond his years for running for office, or Thomas Massey, his ideological successor in the House. It would take a person like that, I think, to resist the entreaties and coercions and perhaps threats, but I'm not personally aware of any, that come from the deep state to American presidents. The same thing happens in America with surveillance. These laws that permit the feds to capture every keystroke on every mobile device and every laptop in the country, they all have a sunset. So every 5 years, those laws are about to expire. And people stand on the floor of the House of Representatives and the Senate saying, I'm not voting for this. This is against the Constitution. This is not why we have an America. And then they get a visit in their office by the intelligence community, which swears them to secrecy before the visit. That's a bad start to a visit. Somebody's going to come in your office and say, you can't tell anybody what I'm about to tell you. I would say, leave the office. Nevertheless, they swear them to secrecy, and then they come out of the office and they've changed their minds, and we don't know what they were told or what they saw. Similar to a conversation I had with President Trump at the end of his first term, he had called me to ask my opinion of some pardons and commutations he was about to issue because I knew some of these people. And I said, how you doing? Now, this was the era where this is a week before Biden was going to be inaugurated. Trump was still telling everybody that he really won the election in 2020. So I'm not doing too well. I won the election and you know it. And I didn't want to get into a dispute with him. I said, you have 2 days left in your presidency, and there's a couple of things that you promised to do that you didn't do. What? What? Well, one thing is to release the JFK files. Another thing is to pardon Julian Assange, who then was still in jeopardy, and Edward Snowden. I thought I had talked him into pardoning Snowden and Assange. Not the point of my story. But I said, what about the JFK files? And he said to me, Judge, if they showed you what they showed me, you wouldn't release those files either. And I said, well, who's they? And what did they show you? And he said, someday, and then he raised his voice, when we're talking and there aren't 15 people listening to the phone call, I'll tell you. Well, he never did. So apparently, in his view, or at least he wanted me to think this, somebody in the military showed him something so horrible that it made him rethink that, whether it was a direct threat or a veiled threat, or just a picture of JFK's brains blown out. I don't know. So threats, coercion, fear, promises, these all rule the day in the American government.
Just think about it. Napolitano says presidents are pressured into obedience. Trump told him, if you saw what I saw, you wouldn't release the JFK files either. Was it a threat? A warning? They promise peace. Then the deep state walks in, and suddenly the war machine rolls on. Same system, new faces. The president doesn't rule, he's ruled. After Russiagate, is U.S. intelligence now a power beyond oversight, one that even threatens the presidency?
He has shared those perspectives with me, and it's nothing different from what you've heard him say publicly. The intelligence community is radically out of control. When George W. Bush realized that the NSA, that's America's domestic spying apparatus, which employs 60,000 people. That's 10 times the number of FBI agents that there are. The federal government employs spies to spy on us domestically. When George W. Bush learned that the NSA was in the Defense Department, he told the head of the NSA, you don't have to worry about the Constitution because I'm your boss. And as commander in chief, I don't have to worry about the Constitution. Now, both of those statements were erroneous under basic Supreme Court rulings and constitutional law. But it shows you an attitude on the part of people in the government that they don't have to follow the Constitution. The Patriot Act, which is a horrible piece of legislation that allows federal agents to bypass the Fourth Amendment. Under the Fourth Amendment, only a judge can issue a search warrant based on probable cause of crime. The Patriot Act allows one FBI agent to authorize another FBI agent to prepare his own search warrant. They don't call it search warrant. They call it national security letters, but it's has the same effect. This went into existence in 2001. That's 24 years ago. A whole generation of spies and federal agents have come of age being taught, don't worry about the Constitution. Just get this stuff done. We'll deal with the constitutional matters lately. So now we have spying on everybody, and we have cutting constitutional corners. I mean, if you think that I'm a bank robber and you want to know what I'm doing with the money and you want to look at my bank account, why bother going to a judge and demonstrating probable cause, which takes hours or even days, when all you have to do is hack into my bank account and you can see what's there? Never mind that computer hacking is a felony for which the FBI prosecutes people. They themselves do it all the time because it's easier, faster, and cheaper than complying with the Constitution. So the Constitution formally still exists. We still have three branches of government. We still have an independent life tenure judiciary. We still have a presidency. We still have a Congress with two houses. But functionally, it doesn't exist because very few people follow it.
After the 2014 coup, the CIA and MI6 rebuilt Ukraine's intelligence from scratch. In your view, how deeply do Western agencies shape these conflicts, even from day one?
Well, there really are two CIAs in the United States. There are the spies who gather data, which the American federal government actually needs in order to know what dangers are out there. But it's the operations part of the CIA that is horrific and dangerous. These are the people that perpetrated the coup in 2014 and that continue to do so around the world. When Barack Obama bombed Libya, drove Colonel Gaddafi from office, and he was eventually slaughtered in a public square, this is Clinton boasted, we came, we bombed, he died. President Obama did not use the military. He used the CIA. Now, they look like military. They have weapons and equipment like military. They had jet planes with missiles on them, but they're not military because the law in America for the use of the military requires consent of Congress. But the CIA works directly for the president. So the president now has his own private secret army that he can use to kill people however he wants. Never authorized by legislation, just morphed into the operations branch of the CIA, and no president, not even the current one who's been victimized by this, spies didn't harm him. It's the operations people who did. No president has put a stop to it. So I don't see things getting any better. I see government growing and liberty shrinking. Now, the United States government may die a natural death because it won't be able to pay its debts. I mean, it owes 37 trillion. That will be 40 trillion when Trump leaves office. Now, you can do the math. The debt service on 40 trillion a year is over a trillion. No society could survive very long having that kind of debt service. If Trump repudiates the debt, that might be a very good thing, but a lot of people and governments and institutions will be out of luck, and then nobody will ever lend money to the American government again, and it will be forced to live within its means or tax people to death, and then there'll be a revolution. So one way or another, this will stop. I don't know if it'll stop in my lifetime, but it probably will in yours.
Schumer once warned Trump the intel agencies could retaliate easily. Now, Tulsi Gabbard is releasing Russiagate files. Has there been any real pushback against those who went after Trump?
If Trump were interested in prosecuting the people that went after him, he would have to have done it in his first term, and he would have to have had his then director of national intelligence release it. What Tulsi Gabbard released cannot form the basis of a prosecution because of the passage of time, the statute of limitations. And she knew that. So the release that she made 2 or 3 weeks ago was to get this Jeffrey Epstein story off the front page. It's not going to result in any legislation. It's certainly not going to result in any prosecution. The statute of limitations is 5 years. Her predecessor, I don't even remember who it was, uh, who was the director of national intelligence in Trump's first term, that person would had to have released all of this. So this is not going to go anywhere. And when Chuck Schumer said there are 6 ways on Sunday for them to get you, that's 100% correct. Because they listen to every phone call and cat every keystroke, even the ones you think you've deleted, by the way, on every mobile device and every desktop in the country. They know everybody's secrets. I mean, Americans, particularly here where I live in New York City, are the most surveilled people on the planet. I think it's now worse here than in London, and everybody takes it for granted. You sort of forget about it and act yourself. You know, the Heisenberg effect. A thing under observation changes on account of its awareness of the observation. True, but after a while, you forget about the observation. You don't change your behavior. You act normally, and they catch you. I mean, the late Justice Antonin Scalia, a dear friend of mine, during the last 10 years of his life, told me that the Supreme Court of the United States, was being surveilled by the NSA, and members of the court knew it. Oh my God, if they can spy on the Supreme Court of the United States, they can spy on the president, and they probably do.
Why would U.S. intelligence spy on the Supreme Court? To gain leverage. Isn't this starting to look like an Epstein-style operation?
It's to have leverage should the court be on the verge of doing something. I mean, for example, the Constitution guarantees the right to privacy in persons, houses, papers, and effects. So I was once interrogating Justice Scalia back when I was a law professor at Brooklyn Law School, and there were 2,500 people in the audience. And I said, Justice Scalia, in this mobile device is a computer chip. Is it an effect? And he laughed and he goes, I better not answer that one because it might be coming to the court. Suppose the court were about to declare that a computer chip is an effect in Madison's terminology when he wrote the Fourth Amendment. Then all spying is illegal and it can only be done pursuant to a search warrant issued by a federal judge based on probable cause of crime. I could see the intelligence community using whatever leverage it had on members of the court to prevent them from issuing such an opinion.
What do you see as the biggest current threats to liberty in the United States? Deep state power, unconstitutional laws, or something else?
Well, the Congress refuses to do its job and it lets the president, it cedes power to the president. That impairs liberty. Right now, he wants to become the police commissioner of Washington, D.C., Chicago, Los Angeles, and New York City. The courts don't enforce the Constitution as it was written. The military-industrial complex and the Zionist lobby have ironclad grips on the Congress. So the military-industrial complex still is the beneficiary of now a $1 trillion annual budget, which of course is absurd. That's more than the next 10 countries combined, which includes Russia and China, of course. The absence of constitutional norms, all these things, and debt, all these things are going to bring down the American government, probably debt before the others.
Judge Napolitano says it outright. U.S. presidents don't rule. They're ruled. Trump wanted to release the JFK files, but backed off after a military briefing. This isn't conspiracy. It's fear, pressure, blackmail. The CIA acts like a private army, no Congress needed. And the intelligence agencies, they spy on the Supreme Court. America may look free on paper, but real power lies outside the law. Thanks for watching. Support the channel if you find this format valuable. More deep dives are coming soon. Until then, think for yourself and draw your own conclusions.